All right, we are going to learn how to do openings in our forms using two-point perspective. If you did parts 1, 2, and 3, then you know how to set up the scenario, especially if you did part 1. It gives you the basic instructions. I've got a cube on top of a cube here and there and one above the horizon line. I'm going to go ahead and put one more cube in just to give a quick refresh on how to draw them. I'm going to put one down here underneath the horizon line. Start with my vertical line, and remember the vertical line represents the corner of the cube. To do the sides of the cube, I'm using my vanishing point. Line up my straight edge with the bottom of the vertical and the vanishing point. Remember that you don't have to draw the line all the way back to the vanishing point as long as the straight edge is lined up with it. So I do that from the top as well. So make that kind of short there. We'll do the left side using the left vanishing point. From both the bottom and the top of the vertical. Then I want to end these planes. Remember that they're ended with verticals. You don't just want to go from one end of the line to another, because chances are they're not the same length and it won't be vertical. Remember that the camera sometimes distorts it, and if my verticals are not perfectly vertical, I apologize. They are on my paper. They may not be on the camera. Let's see, we'll make this a little bit larger. Okay, go ahead and erase my extras. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put the top on this cube because it is below my horizon line. Remember, your horizon line is your eye level. So also remember that I have to use my vanishing points each time unless I'm drawing a vertical line. So in the case of the top or bottom of a cube, you use the opposite points. So I took from the left corner to the right vanishing point, and from the right corner to the left vanishing point to create the top. All right, so let's start with openings. Openings are not difficult. Only problem with teaching them is they look different depending on where the cube is. So yours may not look exactly like mine, but again, follow the steps and this should work. First thing we're going to do, we're going to go to this very first cube we did, which has the top above the horizon line and the bottom below the horizon line. And we're just going to pick either this face or this face to put an opening in. So I'm going to choose this face right here. And I start off by drawing lines to the vanishing point inside that plane, like that, and like this. Now, part of the issue, you'll see people trying to make these parallel. They are not parallel. This line, as well as this one and this one, all end at the vanishing point. So when I've got those two lines in, I'm going to put in verticals. So I'm basically creating another little square. I hate to call it a square. It's not really a square, nor a rectangle. There you go. But you can see what I've done there. Vertical, vertical, to the vanishing point, to the vanishing point, to the vanishing point. All right, when I teach my high school students, I tell them to think of this right here as just a piece of paper that someone has stuck to the side of the cube. There's no dimension to it. All right, in order to make an opening, I've got to look inside this area here. Looking at my four corners, I've got to determine which one of them can go to the opposite point. I've already used my right point. I need to use my left point to complete it. So if I try to draw it from the corner to the vanishing point here or here, it's not correct because it goes into the outside area. I want to keep everything inside here. So what works for me, this corner and this corner. And if you're a little confused, sit tight. It will make sense. All right, so draw a line up to my vanishing point, and I stop right there. Do the same thing here on the bottom. Line it up with that vanishing point, draw it back. All right, hopefully that makes sense to you. I tell my students, this is the floor, the wall, and the ceiling, if you're looking into it. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do one that's actually below the horizon line. Let's go ahead and work with this plane right here. All right, I'm going to start that off the same way. I know I want my lines to be similar to these, and these go to this vanishing point. So draw my line there. It's lined up with a point. Draw my second line here, also lined up with that vanishing point. Finish that off with two verticals. There and there. All right, now when I talk to my students about this, I say this is like you're in a room. You're inside, you see the ceiling, you see the wall, you see the floor. But let's say you're looking down into a basement window. You are not going to see the ceiling. It's below your eye level. So we go back to this area inside, right there. We want to make it look three-dimensional. So we look at the corners. I cannot take a line from here to the vanishing point because it goes outside of it. Same with here and here. So that leaves this line, or excuse me, that corner right there. So let's do a line from that corner up to the vanishing point. There you go. As I tell my students, if you are looking down into a basement window, you're going to see the floor and you're going to see the wall. You're not going to see the ceiling, again, because it's below your eye level. All right, let's go ahead and put an opening in the top. All right, this one's fairly easy because you know it's going to mimic these lines here. And all four of these lines go to a vanishing point. So let's go ahead and put those in. These are kind of small. I'll make them dark so that they're pretty visible. So I've got these two. And I've got these two, again using both points. All right, now I want you to look closely at that. I cannot create an area like this where I'm taking another line back to the vanishing point because all four of these lines already go to a vanishing point. So think about two-point perspective. Your lines are either vertical or they go to a vanishing point. So the obvious choice is vertical. So again, I work inside of this plane right here. I can go to this back corner and I can make a vertical. All right, so now it looks like I can go down into that. There's an opening. Occasionally you'll get a situation where you can actually see the back corner, and that might be the case with this one. I'm going to go ahead and try it and see if that presents itself. And then if that's the case, we'll go ahead and address it. It was always hard when I was demonstrating up in front of the classroom and I wanted to show this part, and my placement of the cube or the size of the opening just didn't work. Okay, hopefully it does now. All right, working on this side of the cube, these two lines go back to the right vanishing point, and the next two are going to be vertical. Just like that. Okay, this one is above my eye level, so we know I'm not going to see the floor, I'm going to see the wall and the ceiling. So again, working inside, deciding which of these four corners I can take to the vanishing point, and that would be this one right here. Okay. All right, that looks a little off, only because this looks longer than the actual cube. So here's the way you fix that. You know that there's got to be a corner back there, all right? But since this is more of a mechanical type drawing, you know you have to follow steps. So what do? I go to this corner right back here. I line it up with the vanishing point on the right, and I draw a line inside, and I stop when I get to this line. I'll move my straight edge, you can see a little better. Okay, just this small line from here to here, and it's lined up with a point. Then I make my vertical from where those two meet and get rid of this little bit here. And thankfully that worked. Okay, so this area here is the back of the box, or if you want it to be going through, okay, that's the opening on the other side. Now again, how your openings look are really determined by where you put your cubes on the paper and the sizes and such. But keep in mind, you start off with verticals, lines going to the vanishing point, okay, and then you look inside of there to see if you can draw lines back to the opposite points from any of the corners. Now keep in mind, I didn't mean to do this, but all of my openings are on the right sides of the cubes. If you're going to do an opening on the left side, you're going to use the left vanishing point, okay? And I'm just going to do a quick one here. We don't see the bottom part of it, so going to do that, and my verticals are getting a little sloppy. I apologize for that. Okay, again, I'll look in here, try to see which corners can go back to the opposite point. That would be this one. It's above the horizon line, so I don't see the floor of it. I see the ceiling and the wall. Okay? So good luck. You don't have to do perfect size openings on each one. I've had people do smaller, bigger, 3 and 4 openings on the side. I've had people do openings on all 3 sides that they can see. But just experiment and practice and see what you can do. If you move on to the next video, I'm going to post how to do letters in 2-point perspective. It is really, really helpful to already know how to do openings.